You open an app, and within seconds, a familiar tension settles in. As the feed rolls by, the world around you seems to recede, replaced by a low-level hum of anxiety. These platforms are designed as public scoreboards. Every profile is anchored by evaluative cues, follower counts, and likes, turning social interaction into quantifiable competition. This visibility triggers upward social comparison. We instinctively rank ourselves against our peers, measuring our internal reality against their numeric success. Casual scrolling becomes a high-stakes psychological game, where every swipe forces a comparison between your ordinary life and someone else's highlight reel. To see how this affects the brain, researchers at UC Riverside used eye-tracking technology to monitor how socially anxious young adults interacted with popular Instagram profiles. The results showed a consistent pattern of avoidance. Participants' eyes actively skipped over follower counts and like metrics. The nervous system processes these as socially threatening cues. For a sensitive brain, a visible popularity score isn't a like, it's a potential judgment. Relying on these metrics creates social media contingent self-esteem. When your worth is tied to digital recognition, your mood becomes a slave to the platform's feedback loop, rising with a notification and crashing with silence. When the platform's very architecture is wired to trigger a threat response, the most effective way to stabilize your mental health is to opt out of the feedback cycle entirely. This is where we find the secure non-poster. These users stay active online, reading, watching, learning, but strictly refuse to share their personal lives. This silence is rarely a sign of shyness or social anxiety. Often, it indicates a stable identity that simply doesn't require the constant appraisal of a digital audience to feel valid. These individuals possess an internal locus of evaluation. Most users look outward for likes, but the secure non-poster generates worth from within. Because their self-image is internally anchored, they experience moments, a sunset, a meal, a vacation, without the compulsion to broadcast for external approval. Dropping the performative pressure of posting well saves the cognitive energy typically spent on impression management. They are free to simply exist in the moment rather than narrating it. By refusing to curate a public-facing version of their lives, these individuals protect the authentic self from being flattened into a digital product. Carl Jung described the persona as the mask we wear to meet the demands of society. The danger, Jung argued, is that we can become so attached to the mask that we lose touch with who we actually are. Jean-Paul Sartre called this the look. He believed that being observed by others turns us into objects. On social media, we often begin to view our own lives as content to be consumed, rather than experiences to be lived. Staying quiet keeps your life private and your footprint small. It eliminates the modern stress of being misinterpreted, screenshotted, or judged by people who don't actually know you. Withholding personal data serves as a boundary. It ensures that while the world watches a screen, your authentic self remains intact and offstage. You can adopt the habits of the non-poster through digital minimalism, a philosophy of using technology intentionally rather than compulsively. One core tactic is selective vulnerability. Instead of broadcasting a rough day to a sea of acquaintances, you share those intimate moments only with those who have earned your trust in the real world. This also requires structural boundaries, like designating tech-free hours. When the phone is away, the pressure to be available or current finally disappears. These intentional limits neutralize the threat of constant comparison. They return control of your nervous system back to you, away from the algorithm's evaluative cues. Redirecting energy away from your digital persona allows for deeper, offline connections, relationships built on presence rather than performance. Removing the digital scoreboard permanently ends the exhausting obligation to prove your happiness to an invisible audience. In a world that demands constant visibility, choosing intentional privacy is the ultimate expression of emotional intelligence. It is the quiet self-respect of a person who doesn't need to be seen to be whole.